Some people rock and some people roll. Some will make you giggle right down to your soul. She'll talk to the world and introduce them to you. And look at me now, I'm on Barbara and you. You gotta take a step inside the shoes of another. Get to know your neighbor, get to know one another. She'll talk to the world and introduce them to you. And look at me now, I'm on Barbara and you.
Good evening and welcome to the Barbara and You Show. I'm glad you could join us this evening. Now, you may wonder why I'm wearing a golf shirt, and that's because in our second half hour tonight, we're going to be talking about women in golf. And a dear friend of mine who's a marvelous golfer is here. Nilsa Weaver will be joining me at 7:30. But first, we are going to talk about the Fitchburg Cultural Council. And I have three panelists here who know all about it and have so many good things to tell us. I always introduce from left to right. So down there we have Jerry Beck. And Jerry, you've been on my show in the past.
Love your show. It's like being a part of history.
Yes, well, just because I've been doing it 40 years, that is history. And next to Jerry, which Jerry is the director and founder of the Revolving Museum. And if you read the local newspaper, you know a lot about it. And next to Jerry, the rose between two thorns, is Beth Robbins, who is the Fitchburg Parks and Recreation Department director.
No.
I'll give you a promotion.
Okay, I'm the recreation assistant.
Okay, many people I interview on this show, I mess up their titles and I give them a promotion.
That's all right.
And Joseph Bowen, chairman of the Fitchburg Cultural Council. And Joe, thank you so much for finally working this out. We met some time ago and we talked about you coming on my show one of these days. And the day is here.
Yep, it's finally here.
It's finally here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have you, as chairman of the board, give a basic definition, because some people may not know about the Fitchburg Cultural Council, and we also air in Leominster, Sterling, Lancaster, etc. So tell us, what is it and what's it all about?
Great, sure. So a lot of people actually aren't familiar with the local cultural council. So the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has an organization called the Mass Cultural Council, and they receive funds from the state legislature annually. And those funds are distributed across local cultural councils through all the cities and towns in the Commonwealth. So our partners in the other cities here have their own local cultural councils as well. We receive a portion of those funds in the Fitchburg Local Cultural Council, and we hold an annual public input meeting to help us decide how we want to spend those monies. And the monies are generally spent on things that are involved in arts and cultural, technology, and sciences. And we vote on an annual basis through our grant season begins in September and it ends in December, where we issue the awards in January. In the last season, we received 67 applications, totaling grant requests for over $100,000. And the Commonwealth of Massachusetts only gave us $26,000 to spend. So we had to come up with some interesting algorithms to try to figure out which ones first met the requirements of the public input meeting, and then out of those, which ones we could fund and for how much, so that we could be fair and provide funding to all the qualified applications.
Now, the public input meeting has already been done for the upcoming season, is that correct?
No, that's not correct.
Oh.
We'll be going into our new grant season in September of this year. We'll be holding a public input meeting in August. The date is not yet determined, but we're also going to be including what we call a grantee reception on the same day, so that we could have existing grantees and any other interested parties from the public who want to learn more about the council and have some input into what sort of things we should be funding for the upcoming grant season.
Now, is there a website that people go to get more information so they don't miss this public input meeting?
Yes, so our website is connected straight from the city's website. The specific address I actually have in my notes is, it's based on the from the Mass Cultural Council, so you have to go to mass-culture.org/Fitchburg.
Okay.
Or you could quickly go to Google and type Cultural Council Fitchburg, and you'll easily find it. We also have a Facebook page and a Facebook group as well, where we do all our advertising for different meetings and so.
Well, it sounds to me you have a humongous task when you have a lot of applicants and you have to narrow it down.
It is. Council spends several hours during November and December. We'll probably put in about 8 to 12 hours of just going over every application in great detail, looking at budgets and justifications and trying to rate them appropriately.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's quite a task. And Beth, how long have you been worked with the Parks and Recreation Department?
So it's going on 4 years in December. So this will be my 4th year doing the concerts on the Common, planning it.
Fourth season of doing the concerts on the
I
Common?
believe it's 4th or the 3rd. I'm kind
Is that kind of your little pet project?
Yes, that's my pet project. If you want
Is
to
it
call
all
it that.
scheduled for this coming
It's
summer?
all schedules.
What do we have to look forward to?
So we have a ton of blues opening up for us, and they have won the Worcester Magazine's R&B and Blues Best Blues Award. I think it's 4 or 5 years, all the way from 2012 up till now. They're phenomenal. They're phenomenal. They have originals, and they have their own. They have their own energy and their own style, and I think people are going to love them. This year we're doing more of a theme, and I've really tried to pull in as many local musicians as we can, because you know, they're always playing. They're our champions. You know, the people like Brian Chafee and Daniel Joseph Cormier and Keith McClendon. These guys play out, you know, all the time, and sometimes I look at them as kind of the unsung heroes because they provide so much, you know, one of many. But most of the concerts, except for one, all but one, have local folks in them, and they're all different genres because each band shows their own genre and their own era. So it's going to be kind of neat and you know, kind of a little different than it was before. In the past years.
And they actually take place on the Commons?
On the Upper Common, 6 to 8 every Wednesday, starting July 11th.
Every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday.
Oh, I was thinking you had like one a month or something.
No.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And we'd love to get the word out so more people
Well,
can.
over the years, have you noticed it's become more and more popular?
It has. And Joe's actually been very good in collaboration. He comes to all the concerts.
Yep.
And a couple of his
I take
friends
attendance, I
too.
count everybody. And
Yeah,
say,
and
oh,
for
they're doing
you.
good this week.
Oh,
and
that's
So we have
I
the
promote the
regulars.
heck out of it.
And
Yep.
this is
Yeah.
free besides?
It's
It's a
free.
free concert.
Yes.
How good is that?
Absolutely, it's great. Nothing
And
better.
a great way to take the kids out for the evening.
And we've seen a lot more of that too. More families and little kids, and I always love to see the kids dancing and families getting into it too. You know, from all walks of life. We have a lot of seniors. We also have, you know, young crowd and lots of families too. So it's fun.
Great.
Yeah.
And Jerry Beck,
Hi.
you wear a lot of different hats, and I've known you for quite a few years now. How long? 10 years maybe? Has it been? How long have you been in the area?
Seems like yesterday.
But like I say, you are known for being the founder of the Revolving Museum, and in case somebody doesn't know what that means, sounds like it moves from place to place.
Yeah, it's a nomadic public art organization. We have a space on Main Street in downtown Fitchburg at 1067 Main Street, right near that small little rotary and the giant big head, and we're right there now. So that's helped us to use as a studio, a gallery, an office, a library, a film archive. So now we have some roots that's growing, and you know, we love Fitchburg, of course.
And what's with the giant big head? Because I've only recently noticed it, and I haven't heard any of the stories.
Well, the big head of creative ideas is something that has followed us from our early Boston days in Fort Point Channel, which was, you know, it still is one of the largest arts communities in New England. And so it's had its own adventure traveling around mostly New England, and it's changing, it's ever changing. So the next one that's coming up is Fitchburg High School's multicultural team. They decided they are going to do, I think, our first female. I tried to talk them into you, but they're going for Frida Kahlo, the well-known Mexican artist and activist. So we have a large Latino community, and she's a very beautiful and exotic artist. So this will be great, you know, at least, you know, everyone gets their turn, you know, sort of thing. But
yeah. Now, Jerry, what's been your involvement with the Cultural Council?
Well, we've been very fortunate over the years to receive grants from the Cultural Council. And this past year, we've gotten a really great award. Thank you very much for Project SOAR, creating the world's largest paper airplane, which is happening as we speak. People are making art. As a matter of fact, I just got a roll of every student in McKay Arts Academy made artwork for Project SOAR, and I just picked it up.
And we're going to have you show that. So this is the cue to the control room to get the camera ready, because you came in with this gigantic rolled up piece of art, and I'm like, how long is that? But you haven't even unrolled it yet. You just picked it up.
No, I mean, I just, you know, because the plane, we just put the plane together at the hangar this past weekend, and it's 64 feet long, and you know, it's got wings that go out like another 13, 14 feet, and it's about 12, 13 feet high.
Well, show us what you have here, and then tell me what this is, how this is going to be used in conjunction with the paper airplane.
This,
now,
I guess every student made. Okay, here we go.
That camera there. Oh,
there we go.
Oh, beautiful! So every student made.
Every student in the middle school made an artwork, a portrait of themselves.
Don't unroll the whole thing, Jerry.
Okay, that's it. Now it's pretty long.
It is.
It's probably going to. I bet you it's 64 feet.
So this is self-portraits, and there's quite a variety on there.
And you can see the color scheme. It's great. I mean, it's every time I see work being created by teams of people, whether they're young or old, or you know, with all abilities, I get blown away happy, because we have right now over 4,000 people involved in the making of artwork.
The Project SOAR.
Yes.
Wow.
And it includes historic artifacts and photos and artwork made by well-known artists, national-known artists, local artists, and a lot of young people. We have 30-something schools involved, from greater Fitchburg all the way to Boston and other states in New England.
Well, that's wonderful. Now the big challenge is to see if you can roll that back up.
Of course. Look at this. It's a scroll.
And I appreciate you bringing it with you tonight. Now,
well, I just figure it's important to show the importance of collaboration, and how, you know, our young people now are going to be our leaders. We're in a youth revolution. They're beginning to, you know, around the world, be able to have a voice. And I think the same important thing should be in the arts, because kids are, first of all, they're my favorite critics. If they don't like something, they say it, Jerry, boring, you know. So they have been my best teachers in a way, and you know, it's incredible the freedom they have, and you know, especially when they're younger.
Well, you know. Yeah, they don't go through this self-doubt. What will people think? They just do their thing.
Exactly.
And it's usually beautiful.
Yeah, and so it's wonderful to see, especially, you know, when we have probably the youngest, maybe we had an infant, you know, 1-year-old barely to walk, and I know we've had people in their 90s make stuff for us. So it's a big deal.
That's great.
And poets as well, and so forth. So it's an honor, really, to be a part of something like this. That's going to be a world record, and it's never, you know, it's never happened before. So it's great to bring it to Fitchburg, you know.
And when is there going to be a grand opening, or people will be able to go and see this giant paper airplane?
Absolutely. It's going to be June 12th. It's going to, the speaking part of it, which is led by our mayor, Stephen DiNatale, will start at 10 in the morning. We know there's going to be over 2,000 young people, students from Fitchburg, since it's a Tuesday morning during the school day. We've gotten worldwide attention. I got interviewed by the BBC not last week, and it also got picked up a few days ago by the Associated Press. So it's going all over the country. So I really feel it's great to get people, it was a big thing in Boston Globe, to get people to come to this city and to see its beauty and to experience its pride and its arts, which is great.
And Joe, that I believe is the primary purpose of the Cultural Council, is to keep the arts alive.
Correct.
And you began by saying that a lot of people don't really know about it or what it does, but in my recollection, it's been around for quite a while, hasn't it? And it seems to me it's waxed and waned in popularity.
Yeah, it has been around for, and I'm basing this off an email I received just yesterday that the Mass Cultural Council is having their 139th annual meeting coming up in June.
I didn't think it was that long.
I didn't think it was that old either. So,
wow.
Yeah, so
but
they've been around for a long time.
I remember years ago doing some work when some of our local artists in this area were very involved. And I'm also going to give you a chance. Well, first of all, I want to know how many members are in the local council and how many board members are there?
So the Cultural Council has 10 members.
That's on the board of directors?
Correct, and that is the council. There's no other part of the council.
But people don't buy a membership or anything like that?
No.
You just want to hear from everybody?
Correct. We're an official city organization that decides how we spend the funds that are provided to us from the government.
And you mentioned the website, so people can, or just Google Cultural Council Fitchburg, and people can find out a lot more about it. But what do you find are some common misconceptions?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm always telling you what it does do, but never what people don't know what it does. I think that one of the more common misconceptions is that we spend the money on just anything that we feel. Like whatever the council's whim is what we spend it on. When in fact we have pretty strict guidelines written into the law that we need to receive public input and choose the appropriate grants requests based on what the public actually wants us to fund.
Now tell me a little bit more about your background and why you chose to get involved with this. Because I know something like this is very time consuming.
Yeah, it definitely is time consuming. There was a pretty long period of my life and career where I was in the entertainment business. I ran several theaters in most of Eastern Massachusetts. And for a period of time, I also owned a chain of theaters of my own. So I've always been engaged in the arts in that realm. And I moved to Fitchburg about 15 years ago while I was in the middle of owning my own theater chain, and life was way too busy with that to even get involved in anything in Fitchburg. And circumstances changed, and I had taken a job that was closer to Fitchburg and Worcester, and now I have gained tons of hours available to give back to the community, which is something I love to do. And then I got engaged with the Fitchburg Cultural Council. Just on a whim, I was like, oh, this looks like arts and culture, and I'm kind of into that. So I went to a meeting, and then within a week, I had sent a letter requesting appointment by the mayor, and the mayor was gracious and kind enough to give me an opportunity to do that, and here I am today. I'm in my second year.
Well, good for you.
Yeah,
good for you. And Beth, I'll give you a chance to brag about Joe and the council, and how have they helped with the Parks and Recreation Department?
Well, they've helped with a good chunk of our funding. We also get funded from Workers Credit Union and Fitchburg Recreation Department itself. Also, pays some of it, but they've they've been consistent and very supportive and granting us a good amount of funds to be able to do it right and to be able to bring the public some really great shows. So we're very appreciative. Absolutely.
And what made you choose this as a career?
Well, I've always loved music. So when I first got the job and I first saw the job and knew that was part of my responsibility, playing the concerts, I kind of fell in love with the whole prospect. And I get to do some creative things. I just came from an open mic for folks from the Disability Council. And I'm just always doing different things, and a lot of it's music or creatively related. So it's just part of my passion. And I also do a little singing, as you heard on the last show. So I've done that as well. So I'm passionate about hearing live music. I don't get to see it very much, so it's kind of my opportunity to kind of see what's out there and to do some research and really get the right people into the shows so that we can, bring something of value to the community.
And we tend to think of the Parks and Recreation just as a summer activity, but you keep busy year-round?
We do. We're in flag football season right now, and before that we had Biddy League, which is our basketball program that's been around for many years. The Concerts on the Common itself, I think, has been around 40 years. So we're kind of a little bit of a, we fly under the radar sometimes with some of it. We try to get we're a two-person department, so we try to get the word out there, and we try to do some innovative things. We have movie night every Friday, starting July 5th, I believe, too, at Nicodemus Field. So it's widescreen TV, for the kids, and it's a great family event. So we have that, too. So, yeah, we do. We keep our hands in the pot and, get out there and try to offer new things.
Are you still singing?
Yes, I am.
And who are you singing with, where and when?
Well, I sing with Eddie. I'm also singing, practicing with a band.
Now
Eddie
with
Troxler.
Eddie, you're talking about Eddie, the
Troxler.
Jazz Depot.
Yes, the Jazz Depot.
And who else are you singing with?
And some old Fitchburg natives that I'm practicing with, Gary and Tom. I don't know if you'd know them, but trying to get back out. They're trying to get back out there, so I'm their chosen vocalist. So practicing every Wednesday. So I'm kind of immersing myself into open mics and stuff too.
Right. And Jerry, I've known you for a while, and I know you're very diverse in your art. But did you grow up knowing that you were an artist and that's what you would do as a career?
Yeah, it's the only thing I could do. That was it. Is I could draw, and I can talk people into liking what I did, especially my mom. But
well, that wasn't hard, I'm sure.
What's incredible, though, for a small city like Fitchburg, is we truly are on the cusp of a renaissance, a cultural renaissance. I mean, when you really think about it, we have two great museums doing different things. We have, Fitchburg State University and everything they do. Mount Wachusett is one of the best art programs around in the country, really, in Mount Wachusett Community College. We have the theater, all the theater groups here. Mm-hmm. We have Gallery Sitka. I mean, it's just, you can go down all the way. It's really leading Fitchburg's creative economy. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like we are ready to bring in huge audiences. And we already are starting that, which is great to see. And the more that happens and the more people see what we got here, mm-hmm. besides its beauty and having the best talk show in the country, we are ready to...
And you're not native to this area, are you?
I'm native to the earth, I'm like, I'm from Florida originally. I've lived in Massachusetts for over 30 years, so...
But I remember when you first came to Fitchburg, it was kind of a change for you, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And you seem to have fallen in love with the city, and the city with you.
I love places that are looking for revitalization, and especially with arts. And young people and the artists here are really, we're under the radar still, but we have a lot of powerful people that can make things happen. So mm-hmm. I'm thrilled to be a part of it. And the Cultural Council, Mass Cultural Council is one of the best, has been one of the best in the country for years. And we always are fighting, nationally to keep the NEA and keep these alive. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's just a matter of education and getting people to realize how important arts is, because everybody's got creative talents, and that's what we're trying to do, is trying to get everybody interested in expressing themselves, no matter what backgrounds they have or what interests in the arts they have. So it's an exciting time to be in Fitchburg.
Right. Yeah. And as a realtor, I'm always touting that to people, letting people know there's a lot to offer here. Mm-hmm. And Joe, you mentioned the grant season starts in September, and you'll have an input meeting sometime in August.
Correct.
When you throw this out there to the community, are you often surprised by what comes back to you? How much or what requests, what variety there might be in art projects?
Well, this was, last year's was the first public input meeting I ever held.
Oh, okay.
So my expectations were pretty wide open. It could have been anything. But it was really, it was good to hear from the public and what they were interested in. Sometimes they think of things that I may not have thought of before, or the rest of the council wouldn't have thought of before. Mm-hmm. But the big focus for this past grant season was really more music, more things for the kids and families. And that's where we focus most of our energy on grant applications this year.
Beth, I see you nodding, nodding along with what he's saying. So the family aspect is really important.
Absolutely, absolutely. To get more families. And there's so much diversity in Fitchburg, to see all different cultures and all different ages, and you know, just engaging and enjoying the same creative activity is just, it's powerful. You know, it makes memories, and you know, and the Fitchburg Cultural Council is helping to make sure those things happen in the city, so it's good.
And Joe, you sort of indicated that you might have been a little disappointed in the amount that you got for the last grant. Do we hope for more this year, or?
Well, it's a fight every year that the Mass Cultural Council has, and they utilize resources like us local cultural councils to get the word out, to talk to your senators and your state senators and your state representatives to encourage them to provide more funds to the Mass Cultural Council so that more funds can be distributed to us here locally. Last year was level funded, meaning that they didn't make any change up or down. And this year, there's a difference in proposals between the House and the Senate. I may have the House and Senate mixed up as far as who's on what side, but one side has requested an additional $500,000 to be provided to the Mass Cultural Council this year, while the other side is asking for level funding. And so I encourage you.
Somewhere in between, maybe they'll end up.
Maybe somewhere in between they'll end up, but I encourage anyone who's watching who knows who their state senator and state representative is, please give them a call, send them an email, send them a letter, bump into them on the street, just find some way to get your opinions to them that they should continue to fund as much as they can, if not more, than what they've done in the past.
Now, when you awarded the grant last year, did it go to one organization, one project, or is it spread out over a few?
Oh, no, it was spread out over 26 projects.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we had received, as I mentioned, we had received 62 applications totaling over 100,000 in funding. We did end up awarding 47 grants. So if you'd like, I can run through just some of them.
You have about a minute to do that.
Okay, that's great. So a lot of them have been for field trips. For school students to help we pay for the bus, so to speak, or maybe the admittance to the Museum of Science. So there were a few of those. We do fund the Fitchburg Civic Days celebration, which anyone who's in Fitchburg absolutely knows what that's all about. This one was pretty interesting. Is we funded what's called a geocaching workshop. I'm not sure if you've heard of geocaching. A lot of people haven't. It's kind of a scavenger hunt out in the woods, or in any area where you can walk and hunt for things hidden, buried in the ground or whatever, and there's little trinkets, and you can leave notes and whatever, and it's all used by your cell phone to try to find these things.
Cool. A la Pokemon.
Yeah, a lot similar to that.
Yeah. Tell me one or two of the more prominent ones you want to mention, because we're almost out of time.
Oh, sure. So more on the music. So there's the Artsmith Festival, where there's music. Juneteenth Festival at Riverfront Park. There's music there as well. There's concerts at Cogsall. The Fitchburg Military Band performs there as well, and other bands.
I can tell you're having a good time doing this.
I love being on the council.
And that's great.
Really, being able to provide the entertainment for the community is really great.
And all three of you have so much enthusiasm. I love it when I interview people who like what they do, and it shows. So I will say to you, thanks for sharing, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have one more thing you wanted to... Oh.
Well, I'd just like to show the lineup. I don't know if you can see that.
Why don't you just read it to us? Well, what's the first one coming up?
The Ton of Blues is going to open up for us.
Oh, you mentioned that, and that's when?
That's on July 11th.
July 11th?
That's the first one, from 6 to 8. And we have Caves on Mars. We have Miss Henry and the Sweet Bourbon Daddies, Busted Jug Band, which is all homemade instruments, but they do a fantastic show. We have Brian Chaffee, he's doing a Tom Petty tribute. And then we have rock ladies from the 50s and 60s to close it out.
And people can find the schedule on the website as well.
Yep, they can go to the city website, and we also have a Facebook page.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And like I say, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
And don't go away, because I'll be right back with Nilsa Weaver to tell us all about women and golf.
Welcome to Inside Fitchburg. I'm your host, Alex Cardinale. Inside Fitchburg is pretty much a showcase of that work that folks are doing. A lot of conversation is really being steered in a really positive direction, and more is being found out, I feel, now, which is really exciting stuff. Hey, we're back. I didn't have a microphone on. Live TV, everybody. I think you're one of the examples of what the city really needs, and that's, you know, young, energetic folks investing. You guys look great for 150. Do what you love and you don't work a day in your life. Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton. If you haven't, James Lipton is he's an old guy with a beard. And what Fitchburg is a lot of really good people working toward a better future for the city.
I have been trying for a long time to get Nilsa Weaver on my program to interview. And she could talk about a myriad of subjects, but her very favorite subject is golf.
For sure.
Hi there, great to see you, and you look so great in your all matching golf outfit. I just wore a golf shirt, that was my contribution, but you're gonna actually do some demonstrating for us. And although I've known for years that you are an ardent golfer and a very good golfer, you can deny it if you
dependable.
want. From this viewpoint, you're a really good golfer. But I did not realize until a meeting we attended not too long ago that you're almost fanatical about it.
I am. And you know, Barbara, it's really interesting. When I was growing up, a wide world of sports are one of those things. My father would watch golf on a Saturday. You know what that was like? Painful. That is the last thing I wanted to see. My father used to play golf. My brothers were caddies. I had no interest in the game whatsoever until something happened. And along came Tiger Woods. And from that day on, I fell in love with the game of golf. And it was because of him that I ended up learning how to play the game.
Well, I think your dad would rather hear that it was because of him. Your dad influenced you.
No,
Tiger
not
Woods,
Dad. It was definitely Tiger Woods.
But it was almost like a switch was flipped and you're like, oh yeah, I love this game.
I do, because the Golf Channel actually started, I think it was around 1995. So one day, I did what my husband usually does, and I started clicking channels, and all of a sudden I saw the Golf Channel on. And I started watching it, and at that time it was names like Freddie Couples and Tom Kite and Greg Norman and Nick Faldo. And I started watching these golfers, and I couldn't believe how great they were. And all of a sudden, I started to feel really good about watching golf on weekends, so I started doing that. And then, I think it was 1997, it was late 96, that all of a sudden I saw Tiger Woods play golf during the weekend. And then I learned a little bit about him and his amateur career, which was absolutely phenomenal. And in 1997, he won the Masters, and he won it by 12 shots. That was it for me.
At what age?
That was it.
How old was he then?
Oh my God,
He was really
21,
young. Yeah, really
maybe?
young.
After that, I decided I wanted to learn how to play golf. So I took 3 lessons. I learned how to drive. I should have taken 10,000 lessons, but I took 3, learned how to drive a ball, how to use an iron, and how to putt. And for the next year, I went to a driving range every other day after work during, warmer weather. and learned how to hit that ball. And
Wow.
then the following year, 1998, actually 99, in the spring of 99 was the first time I ever went on a golf course.
So you really, I mean, 3 lessons, you're pretty much self-taught
Yes.
by going to the driving range.
Yes.
As you know, I love to play, but I'll never be a good golfer because I don't have the discipline. I hate going to the driving range. I like to play.
I
like to
do
play the
too,
game.
and we've talked about
Yeah.
that. You know, this is not our career. Golf is not our career, it's our
Well,
love.
I'm not sure about you. No.
Oh, hey, if I had it to do over again,
It might have
maybe,
been.
maybe.
But do you strongly advise, and we're specifically talking about women in golf,
Yes.
even though you were inspired by the men.
Right.
But it's different for women. We're never going to drive the ball as hard or as fast or as long as the men who are stronger, usually. But would you always recommend that if a woman wants to start playing golf, do take a few lessons?
No question. Because we all, you'll find, even on the pros, whether they're women, men, it doesn't matter. You learn a basic swing, but after that, you own your swing. There are no swings that are exactly the same, but there are some very basic things about a swing. And just like with the ball, there's very basic things about a ball. You have to look at the ball in order to hit the ball. So, but yes, taking those lessons, oh, excuse me, my props fell. Taking those lessons will at least give you the basics and the understanding of how to swing that club and what you're trying to accomplish when you hit the ball. I love to see women in this game because it does a lot of things for us. I mean, you meet people you otherwise never would meet. You have wonderful conversations, and when I think about the charitable aspect of golf, you and I, we've played golf at charity events. So a lot of golf also supports the local communities. And it's just a wonderful, you're in beautiful surroundings. You can walk or you can ride in a cart. I prefer to walk when I can, so if I play lousy, I still got exercise out of it.
Get something out of it, yeah.
But I love the game, I do.
To the point that you told me you recently went to the World Golf Hall of Fame.
Thus my hat.
Where is that located?
That is located in St. Augustine, Florida, and we were there last month, and I loved it. I was not expecting what I saw, including when you first walk into the World Golf Hall of Fame. One of the exhibits that you'll see is the Bing Crosby and Bob Hope exhibit. And all that they did for the game of golf, especially the celebrity golf tournaments that they ran. And so from that aspect, that also started the whole charitable portion of what golf could do for communities. So it was great, and I got to see all of the lockers from all of the winners of, the Masters and some of the greats of the game, and not just for the men, but for the women. Nancy Lopez's display, I was blown away. I swear to God, she donated every single trophy she ever won. It's incredible. Annika Sorenstam and the tournaments that she won and some of the trophies, because they donate some of their trophies and green jackets and other things. So it really made going through that Golf Hall of Fame delightful. And it's also interactive. You get to golf.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
That's
you do.
Unusual.
Yes, I'm not talking 18 holes.
Right.
But, you get to try out your own skills and putting and that kind of thing. So it was very enjoyable to be able to do that.
And by the way, Nancy Lopez is from my hometown of Cincinnati.
Unbelievable.
She was very well respected. Yes. What are some mistakes women commonly make?
In terms of?
Well, this is a leading question because I think they feel intimidated sometimes by the men on the course, and they think, well, I'm only a woman.
Barbara, that's a sad thing, but it is true. Again, I have to say I was a little bit fortunate because the very first time that I went on to a golf course, I was by myself. I was Lakeview country club because I was working down in that area, and I called the pro shop and I said, I'm alone, is that okay? Because I wanted to go out on a golf course by myself the first time, and I know that you can play the game alone. And he said, come on, this is great, you can come right now, there's nobody around. So I'm on the first tee, I'm just ready to hit the ball, and the pro says, excuse me, excuse me. I turn around, and he said, do you mind if this gentleman joins you? And I thought, oh no, I don't even believe this. Well, what am I gonna say?
Right.
I said, okay. But I did let him know this is my first time out. I wasn't that good, I was a little bit nervous, and then he said to me, do you have a 5-iron in your bag? I said, yeah. And he said, why don't we do this, hit your 5-iron. Now, usually what happens is people want to tell you how to play a game, but I thought, okay, because he was playing really good. I took my 5-iron out, and that's the only club I hit for the rest of the round, other than my putter, of course. At the end of the round, I signed his scorecard. Come to find out, he was playing in the Mass Amateur, and that round, he needed somebody to sign his card and witness his round. And I couldn't believe it. I'm not going to say his name. And that's how I met him. But because of that, I thought, if I can play, not that I played well, it didn't matter. What I found is that we all love this game. And yes, so there are exceptions. There's some, women are the same way. Sometimes women can be worse, all right? But what I found was that we all love to play this game, and if you don't mind playing with people that you don't know, as I do every single summer, it's incredible the people that you meet and how much fun you can have.
But I've always been impressed that it doesn't intimidate you at all to play with the guys.
No.
Because you've gotten that good at it. You're right, the social aspect of golf is very important as well. And then there's golf etiquette that some people seem to forget about sometimes. And I think it's important, and I don't know if we should do that, talk about that now or before. I want you to do some demonstrating for us too. But just what are the basics of golf when I say golf etiquette?
Barbara, that is such a, I'm glad you commented on that, because I probably would have not mentioned it otherwise. To me, it's almost more important than the rules of golf, because you can go out and have fun and break every rule if you want to. But I think one of the things about etiquette, when you're up on the tee, some people tend to stand directly behind you. And when they do that, it becomes a distraction when you're trying to bring your golf club back, because then what you're seeing is that person in the corner of your eye, and it's very, very hard to concentrate. So one of the things that I've always done when people go up onto the tee, I'm not on the tee at all. Some people will stand to the side, and that's fine. I choose not to even go onto the tee until that person is finished, and then I hope I get the same courtesy when I go up to hit the ball. That's one thing. The other thing is, when you're in the fairway, it's natural if you're using an iron to take what's called turf. And there could be a big piece of grass that comes up. And in most golf courses, at least around this area, if you take that piece of grass or turf and replace it and just pat it down, it will adhere again to the soil around it. So it's like replacing the turf. So the next person who hits a golf ball isn't going to end up in that hole that you just made.
Is that what you call a divot?
Yes.
Okay.
And then when you're on the green, what happens is when you hit an iron and the ball lands on the green, oftentimes it'll make a mark. And that's where this little sweet thing comes in.
You're equipped. You've got everything.
And what this does, it's just a little divot that fixes the mark that you made. And that way, if somebody ends up now putting and it happens to be over the mark that someone didn't fix, it's going to send that ball offline.
Right.
So that's one of the other courtesies of the game. And when I first started, and even now, I tend to look behind me to see if there are people waiting. If there are people waiting to hit the ball, that I tend to want to speed up, because it means that we're doing something that's causing the people behind us to have to wait.
Because when they give tee times, they have a gauge. They have a gauge what's the average time.
Yes, they do.
And one of my pet peeves is keeping it moving.
Yes.
And if you're going to look for your, decide how you're going to shoot the next shot, you might want to have your club with you or have an extra ball in your pocket.
Yes.
If you go in the woods.
Yes.
So that you're always what we call golf ready.
Yes.
That's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And getting back to women just for a minute, it's such a wonderful camaraderie kind of sport. And you don't have to belong to a club. There are a lot of women's leagues. You can be part of those. It's usually like the Women's Tuesday Night League or Thursday Night League. You can go and you can be part of that league and meet people that way. So it's not always a case of having to belong somewhere in order to play the game of golf.
But that isn't, a league isn't always necessary.
No.
Because as you know, I have 3 friends. We meet at 7:30 on Wednesday morning.
There you go.
If somebody can't make it, then we have a threesome. If there's 5 of us, we have a twosome and a threesome,
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be highly organized either.
Not at all.
And we have a lot of good choices where we can play around here. So do you mind showing us some basics and telling us some of the tips that work for you?
Sure.
Because she's told me, Barbara, I'm not a pro, I'm not a teacher. But let's walk over to our demonstration set.
Okay.
And bring your clubs. And I'm not going to do anything other than ask you questions. You're in charge over here.
Okay.
Okay.
So.
Gee, is that little black mark on the carpet? Did that mean to be our spot?
So I brought a tee because obviously I don't want to be hitting a golf ball.
And I have to be very careful where I stand because you're touchy about that.
Well, not only that, but I don't want to hurt you. This is a long, this is a driver. And the driving club can be your friend, it can also be your foe. It's sometimes difficult because it tends to want to go right and left, but not straight down the middle.
And how do you control that?
Well, practice, a little bit of practice, and making sure that you're lined up properly and making sure that the club is really facing whatever target you're trying to aim for. And the most important thing is keeping your eye on the ball, because if you don't do that, then you can whiff it. We're notorious for coming up and not finishing our swing. I do that early on in the year, such as now.
So I would you really need to follow through. Now, where
you have to follow through.
Okay.
So you figure. Whoops.
Woo!
Okay, so let's see if I can hit
now,
that.
That would have been a practice swing, and a lot of people do always do a practice swing. Whoa!
So
it's important to follow through.
You have to follow through. And
when
if you follow through, you see, you're going to end up, and I almost fell over, which means my balance wasn't good on that. But if you're really hitting the ball, you're going to follow through. And that will send, because what happens is your belly button ends up at the target that you're trying to get to.
And when you say keep your eye on the ball, we always hear don't lift your head up.
Correct.
And when you get a lousy shot, it's usually because you lifted your head up.
Absolutely.
So even though, once you've connected with the ball, you're still keeping your eye on the ball.
Yes, you are. And actually, the club is going to take you around. And hey, it's very easy to do this. And what did I just do? I'm following, what am I following? I'm following the club instead of looking at the ball.
Right.
And that's what happens. If you're following the club and not looking at the ball, then it's very difficult to, achieve your goal.
Right.
Would I still play the game? Yes. And just keep trying because I like it that much.
But I find it's really good to play with people who are much better than you because I can learn. So there's really 3 aspects. There's driving the ball.
Yes.
Then there's the fairway.
Yes.
And that's where you use your irons.
Well, you can use what are called fairway woods. It all depends on the distance. And then you can also use irons. And this is a 9-iron, so what this would indicate to me is I'm trying to, let me use my little divot prop. I'm trying to, you know, not hit the ball as far because my green is not that far away. So let's see if I can keep my head down on my iron. Nope, see, I missed the target because I came up.
Oh.
Yes, I did. So let's try that again. Well, it's either that or the floor.
Well, plus, that's a pretty small target.
No,
That's
it
not
really
like
isn't.
that's not like really hitting a ball.
No, I think if it was a tee, it might do a little bit better. But the irons are usually the first clubs you want to play with because they're easier to control than the woods. So I started out with a 9-iron, and then I went to a pitching wedge, and then I went to an 8-iron. So as you go up, the distance gets further. As you go down, like from a 9-iron to a pitching wedge, the distance is shorter to achieve
and
your target.
The numbers are higher the closer you get to the goal.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
So you start out with a 1 as your driver.
Yes.
Okay. And then, what is this saying about driving and putting? There's something about, there's a saying.
Drive for show, putt for dough.
Yeah, I knew there
Yes.
was a saying like that.
Yes.
Because you can win or lose the game with the putting.
Absolutely. And
Now that looks to me like a very unusual putter. It's bigger than a lot of them I've seen.
the thing about putting and putters, everyone has their own style of putting, as well as the type of putters. There are so many varieties today, Barbara. You can find something that you're going to be comfortable with. And when I putt, I do take my glove off.
And why is that important? Because I always forget to take mine off.
Well, for me, it's important because I want to be able to feel the weight of the putter. And sometimes I can't feel that weight if I keep the glove on. And what I'm really trying to do is have like, you know, just this...
Like a pendulum?
Like a pendulum, and depending on how far the hole is, will determine how far I take the club back and take the club forward. So putting is, it is absolutely true, putt for dough, because even when you're talking about professional golfers, and I'll just use the Players' Championship just ended on Sunday. Jordan Spieth, who is considered one of the best putters on tour, ended up 3-putting the final hole for a triple bogey. So it happens to professionals as well. Putting is enjoyable, but it can also be frustrating. So it's
So
really...
how did you learn to make it enjoyable?
Practicing, but also learning a little bit about greens and how to read greens and how to understand undulating greens and how to basically look and, you know, look at a ball and look at the terrain around it, and if it's mounded on one side versus another, how is that ball really going to get to the hole? So not everything is straight. Sometimes you have to take a right or a left in order to get the ball in the hole.
Aim high and it'll roll
Yes.
down in. So you're going to putt a little for us?
Well, let's see. Why not? Let's see. I'll pretend there's a hole down there. The putting, and just like with the golf,
very straight.
just like with your irons, you do not lift your head. You have to be able to follow through and not lift your head until after. You know, Greg Norman once said, "I never lift my head until I hear the ball go in the hole."
Oh my God.
I never forgot that, Barbara. And so sometimes I don't lift my head, the action is over, people are waiting, and I didn't hear the ball go in the hole. But so I learned early on, when I'm putting, I am not going to lift my head.
That's great.
Then
and look
I
how
look
straight
over.
you hit that. There's no
So-
play in this blue, green. Oh, but there's so much to learn. Let's go back and sit down for a few minutes that we have left on the show. You can leave those there till later. But there's so much to learn. Years and years ago when I first started and took lessons, I had a teacher who would say, he would tell me all the right things to do, and then every once in a while he would say, forget everything I told you and just knock the hell out of the ball. And at some point you have to just say yes. And I think I may have told you this, that when I first started playing here in New England, it was at a realtor's tournament. And the first year I was invited to be in the tournament, I thought, well, I don't know, play well enough, and I'll just volunteer to measure distance to the pin or something. And then I saw how some people played. And when it's a shotgun or best ball tournament, it's a lot easier.
Yes, it is.
I thought, well, I could do that. So we got our foursome. And none of us were particularly good golfers. But every single year, we won the Best Dressed Award. We had all our matching visors, our little cutesy outfits like you're in today.
You know, one other comment I do want to make, and golf, for me, and for a lot of us, we call ourselves fair-weather golfers. Because even though the tour plays in basically all kinds of weather unless there's lightning in the area, for most of us, we like to play in warm sunshine, which brings the other point of how we should dress when we're playing golf. And thus the hat, and when I play golf, I wear sunglasses. And I wanted to bring these that are really not props, but what they are they're sleeves. And so when I go out to play golf in sun, in order to protect myself, they are, and you can get these online, they're called cooling sleeves, and they wick away the sweat, but more importantly, they're over 99% UV protection. So it's not just about wearing the sunscreen, but doing everything else you can do to protect yourself. And by the way, that's something that is now, there are certain people on the PGA Tour that mention about protection while you're out playing the game of golf.
Yeah, because we wouldn't necessarily think of that. You know, the sun can be damaging to us.
Yes, it can.
And I just find wearing a visor or a hat, and I wear the hat or visor and sunglasses.
Yes.
And some people don't like to do that because they think it's harder to see the ball, but it works for me. It's practical.
I didn't start out wearing sunglasses, but I quickly did. And when I walk, you've seen me, I have my umbrella. Right there. I attach it to my golf cart, and even though it's beautiful sunshine out, my umbrella is up. So anything I can do to protect myself while enjoying a game that I absolutely love, I'm going to do it.
Right. And in the last 2 minutes, what would you tell people about why they should start playing golf, what they should do to make themselves better?
Golf is a game, Barbara. You can start playing that game from the time, seriously speaking, probably from the time you're 10 until you're well into your 80s and, God willing, your 90s. There are very few sports you can really say that about. I think when you get out into those types of surroundings, it takes, no matter what type of job you may have, it just seems like all of those pressures go away because all you're trying to do is hit that ball.
Right.
That's it. The other thing is, if you're playing with other people, you get to watch them hit their ball. So it's interactive in so many different ways. So I think that is something that I take with me all the time. The anticipation, when I know I'm going to play golf, I'm so excited. I'm already anticipating. I don't care how I play because I know that I'm still going to have a good time and I'm still going to want to go back and play that game again. So I think it's really the enjoyment and enrichment and being able to escape everything else that's going on in your life. And we all have busy lives. And it's just fun. And you can play 9 holes or you can play 18.
Right. And I just totally agree with you because I always say that to the girls. We're able to be outdoors. It's a nice day. We're getting some exercise. Yeah, it does make you forget about everything else. Well, thank you so much, and I'll look forward to the next time I get to play with you, because when I do play with you, I learn something every time.
Thank
You're my
you, Barbara.
idol.
I'm so happy to be talking about this and hopefully see more women out on the course.
Okay, well, thank you, Nilsa.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. I hope you'll join me again next week. My guests will be Sally Cragen, because it's coming up on DPW Day, and Sally always has great things to tell us about that. And also Susan Navarre is going to be here from the Fitchburg Historical Society, talking about the Boulder, the Declaration, and the World Cup. So tune in and find out how those are all connected. This is Barbara Foster saying good night, and God bless you.
Goodbye.